If you looking for some information on autism, you should call in. We got Dice Clark, puzzle pieces, all depth to Hezekiah Kids. Now we bringing awareness to the community, hoping you benefit. Put in your earbuds, turn up the volume, y'all know what time it is. Let's go. Welcome to the Spectrum Talk. What? Welcome to the Spectrum Talk. Let's go. Welcome to the Spectrum Talk. Hey. Welcome to the Spectrum Talk. Welcome to the Spectrum Talk. Yeah. Welcome to the Spectrum Talk. Okay. This is the Spectrum Talk. This is the Spectrum Talk. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Kid J. I hope everybody's having a blessed day, and thank you for tuning into the Spectrum Talk podcast.
Hey, what's going on out there? Thanks for joining, and welcome to the Spectrum Talk. This is Mike Power with Adapt.
Bree with Puzzle Piece Partners.
And we got a few special guests joining us here today. We're going to let them introduce themselves. Before we get into that, we just want to thank God for bringing us in here safely and letting us continue, spreading awareness through this podcast.
And although our other co-host isn't here, Dice and Brasanji, they'll be back soon. They had another event. So we're going to start with Tiffany.
Hi, I'm Tiffany Jackson from Change the World for You. And Change the World for You too, and Dining with Daisy.
Hello, everyone. My name is Charlotte Batchelor. I am an autistic self-advocate, writer, and public speaker.
In today's episode, we're just going to try to just go with the flow. I have a lot of questions that I need to ask Charlotte. Tiffany is going to elaborate on her event and her book that she's coming out with. And Mike is going to present his new bracelets. So, why y'all
Okay, so who going first?
I tell you, mine will be quick. So we do, with Adapt, we have a special space pack coming out. So we got bracelets, socks, and a special t-shirt. And it's all around making space for autism because it's a lot of changes going on. Mm-hmm. And we need to keep, a safe space for those on the spectrum. So the bracelets will be up on the site this week, and then the whole pack should be available soon.
Those bracelets are fire too.
Thank you.
Yes. Okay, Tiffany, what you got going on? Come on,
Okay.
y'all. And we only got one.
Okay, you said stretch it out.
We only got one view.
So,
So
okay,
we really talking to each other.
that's fine.
Yeah, that is.
They'll watch.
Yeah. Mhm.
Okay, so my name is Tiffany Jackson.
We got more than one viewer. You can't see it because we live on my page, live on Dice's page.
Oh, okay.
Okay.
Your YouTube page and my YouTube page.
Okay.
Okay, so bust your bubble. My name is Tiffany Jackson. I'm the founder of Change the World for You. It's a nonprofit organization in honor of my daughter Deja. We have now created the character Daisy, named after her. This is the book that we will be coming out with. It's called Daisy's First Flow. Let's go. This book talks about the comes and goings of a girl with a girl on the spectrum having her first period. So it's a guidebook about all the things that you need to know, what you may feel, what to expect, etc., what products to use, everything. So the goal, it will be dropping April 1st, which is Autism Awareness Month.
Okay.
It will be $15. This one with the spiral is a little more heavy duty. It will be $20. You can get those from me personally if you want, or on the website. They are also available and published on Amazon. So my daughter, which is 13, she is now a published author.
Good job, Daisy.
Can't stop nothing. Autism don't stop nothing.
I know that's right.
So also in the joys of Autism Awareness Month, we usually have our gala every year, which is this is our 4th year. So I'm really super excited about that. This year the theme is black and white. Daisy, the goal was for Daisy the character to be debuted there, but she's not ready yet.
Okay.
So she will be ready soon. And also we have a tennis event coming up as well for all the kiddos to learn tennis. So I collaborated with Autistic athletes to do that as well. The location is still up in the air, but we do encourage you to bring all your kiddos, all ages, so they can learn some something about tennis. Okay.
You need to get that cardio in.
Yes, absolutely. Whatever we could do to keep them active and encourage activity. And they could play tennis. They could do anything they put their minds to. So that's the goal. And that's all I have going on right now. So we can turn it over to Sean.
Hold on.
Wait. Okay.
So, question:
Yes.
what inspired you to do this book, and how was the process like going through it and trying to be detailed or not too detailed about certain things?
As a
Definitely,
parent,
that was definitely an issue. But I get that question asked all the time. How do I deal with Deja and her period being on the spectrum? And I've had that question asked to me several times. So you know what I said? I said, that light bulb came on and said, hey, I'm gonna write a book. I'm gonna be like Bree. I'm gonna write me a book.
No, that's right.
So, I'm sorry. So
I was just
then
asking. Can they hear me?
I started writing a book and started writing down and jotting things everything that Deja goes through that time of the month. And there you have it.
No, that's it's very creative. I mean, it even really goes, even outside of just autism. Because I got a daughter.
Absolutely.
And I'm not looking forward to to any of that. But no, I think that's a real creative concept. That's dope that you put it together, and that's that's really unique.
Thank you.
Yeah, it is. That is good. So we are going to pass the mic to Charlotte. We're going to let her explain who she is, what she do, and go ahead. I'm talking about Ann. Go ahead.
So like I said before, I am an autistic self-advocate, writer, and public speaker. I was diagnosed with autism spectrum disorder level 1 when I was 22. I was in my senior year of college at Michigan State, and kind of how I got up to that point was I also live with bipolar 2 and ADHD, and I had a negative experience with a classmate on a study abroad, and I experienced for the first time what was autistic burnout. And what I felt like, I was like, this just does not feel like bipolar. Like, I have dealt with very bad, like, mania and depression on both ends. And I was like, something is just a little different this time. And so I really had to push to be heard by my psychiatrist. She was just kind of like, just go take some more medicine. And I'm not anti-medicine. I think being medicated has changed my life and allowed me to manage and cope, but I was like, it's just something here. And what really kind of pushed me was, it happened to be World Autism Day, and I was in one of my college classes, and my professor shared about her experience being late diagnosed after her children were. And I saw a lot of myself in this woman. She was my research mentor. I had worked with her, and I was like, okay, maybe I need to talk to her and kind of, pick her brain a little bit.
Get a better understanding.
So she shared her story with me, and she gave me the name of this place called the Sunfield Center in Ann Arbor, which they evaluate adults, and they do a great job of providing a culturally competent kind of diagnostic process, because we know in the research and a lot of things when it comes to autism, Black people are not the face of it, and especially not our Black women and girls. We are not heavily represented. We're starting to be. So I just decided that I was just going to start calling around and see, 1, who took insurance, and 2, who was willing to evaluate an adult, because a lot of places, they don't evaluate adults. So did that, got in at the Sunfield Center. It was a miracle. I only had to wait 7 months for an evaluation, which is really fast in terms
That's
of
good.
the diagnostic process, because they had a lot of cancellations and stuff. So I sat for my ADOS, did the parent exam, did a couple other exams, and so got waitlisted in May. And by November, like the week after Thanksgiving, I was headed to Ann Arbor to go and get evaluated. And up until then, I have been sharing my mental health journey on social media. I'm very open. I'm very transparent about that. And I was like, what if I document this autism diagnostic journey as well? So just sharing stories on Instagram, talking about it. And I would have people I'm a graduate of Michigan State, and I would have people just DMing me, asking me questions like, oh, I got a friend, or I got a little cousin, or, I didn't really know who to ask about this, but I see you talking about it. And I was like, there is something here to have a level of transparency to be able to admit that I was struggling and that I wasn't too proud to,
Go get help.
Go get help.
Mhm.
Yeah, especially as an adult who had, I had to leave school because my mental health had got so bad and I had to medically withdraw my second semester at Michigan State. And that's not something I wanted to do, but it was something that, put me on the path to graduate only one semester late with honors and with a job lined up after I graduated.
Still did good. That's good. So my first question to you is, after receiving the diagnosis, like, how did you feel? Like, what were your emotions and
It was kind of like
a relief?
a relief.
Okay.
Yeah, it was kind of a relief because nobody else in my family is diagnosed with autism. I'm the only one. I'm also the oldest girl, the oldest daughter, and the oldest granddaughter on both sides of my family. So it was kind of like figuring out something that, I had these other diagnoses, but I was like, there are still things I can't account for. Like, there are certain behaviors or things that I experienced as a child. So for me, it was a relief to be able to know, like, this isn't just all in my head, because as a Black woman who has dealt with the healthcare system and dealt with the mental health care system, so much of it is, she's just overthinking stuff. I've been called hysterical by doctors. I have been labeled as, it's just, you just getting worked up over nothing. And to me, kind of getting that diagnosis was like, it was something that I had knew was different about myself, but I didn't have the language to describe it. And I didn't know a lot of Black people with autism at the time, if I'm being very frank. There were people in college who were on the spectrum that I encountered or things like that, but their experience was so different than mine that I was like, this isn't like, this like, is that me? No, maybe that's not me or whatever. So I was really relieved, and I think it opened up a door to have a lot of, open and honest conversations with my family about, how to accommodate me at home in terms of getting me extra support and accommodations, because I received accommodations in college. So pairing me with someone who had worked with young adults on the spectrum, who had worked in rehab and vocational services and special education, and really having that I forgot what the term they called it at my school, but she was kind of like my accessibility counselor. So she wrote the document that gave like a list of like my accommodations to my professors. And also just being in the department I was at, they were very accommodating and very understanding. Even before I got the autism diagnosis, they were willing to kind of sit and work with me because they saw my potential.
Yeah, instead of just saying like something wrong with her, she crazy, whatever. Okay, that's good. So that was really my first question. You summed it up. It's basically, it says personal experiences with autism, and the question was, can you share your personal journey or experience on what it's like to live with autism, both the challenges and strengths? The next question is, when did you first realize that you were different from others, and how did it make you feel?
Okay. So my like personal experience with autism, I was born in 2000. So back then the conversations around autism were not a lot. I'll be 25 in June. And so I'm also my parents' first child. So a lot of the things that I experienced, they were like, I was a very anxious baby. I remember one time we were at like a repast, like at my great grandma's house, and it was too many people going on, and I just started like screaming and like clawing at my dad's face. I was grabbing his glasses, like I was just uncontrollable.
How old were you at this time?
I was maybe like like 2 or 3, and it didn't happen all the time, but it was just like my great grandma's house was really tight. It was hot in there, and they just could not get me to calm down. And it was like, what, they just thought it was just the baby was riled up. So, then when I got a little bit older, I would be very specific. Like I didn't struggle. So if you told me on Monday we going to the zoo at 3:00 on Saturday, and we not going to the zoo no more, we can't ruin. like I would fixate so heavily on those plans, and also like being on time, like
Routine based.
being late to school. That felt like I was getting a whooping as a kid. Like I was like, I hate being late, and even as an adult now, like I will show up somewhere 30 minutes early because I need to get my time to settle.
I wish I was more like that.
Like, cause it's almost like with being late, it could kind of like tie in with the anxiousness.
Yeah.
So you know, like No, I just want to kind of like say that.
Yeah,
like,
so for me, like I have to get places like early. Like sometimes I like getting into work a little bit earlier than my coworkers because I want to have that time to settle in, get my coffee, check my emails. I don't like I like to know what to anticipate or if something's different. I like to be able to give myself that time to pivot and to readjust. Because now I'm an adult. Like I can't be going and grabbing my mama's face and throwing her glasses off when we late somewhere. So I think part of that for me is how I accommodate myself. So getting somewhere early. Like for example, I work at Wayne State and I interviewed for my job in April of last year. So like I read the email over 3 different times. I looked up where I was going on Google Maps because I had not been to this building before. And I double and triple checked with the administrative assistant because I was like, okay, I've been out of work for a little bit now. I like to know what to expect. So as a kid, they thought I was just being, particular, which because my other little sisters, they don't care about being late to school. Most little kids at 6 or 7 don't care about being on time to school.
Barely even want to go.
Barely
real.
want to go. So that is something that appeared to me as a child. I had very like deep fixated interests on things. So like one of the first special interests I had was like the original Star Trek from the 60s. I got into Star Trek when I was like 7 or 8 years old.
Wow.
Because I was staying up late watching when WADO was still coming out. It would come on at 11 o'clock. And
Oh, Star Trek.
yes,
Goodness.
I just saw it one day on TV and I was like, I wonder what that's about. And I'm still like a huge Star Trek fan. I have like Star Trek memorabilia in my home, Star Trek memorabilia in my office. Like they had a Star Trek exhibit at the Science Center and my dad took me and that was like the best thing of my life. But I seem to have like these very deep fascinations with child. So when I got older, I was really into like rock and alternative music. So I was like going to concerts all the time and I wanted to be a music blogger and I would like write like album reviews for the school newspaper and stuff. Then it turned into journalism and I was editor-in-chief of my high school's yearbook and newspaper. Went to the National Association of Black Journalists junior journalism workshop and got a scholarship through them. Worked at the newspaper at the State News before I went on medical leave. And so I would say I've had a lot of different special interests over the years, but writing has been one of those things. And I am grateful for the ability that it gives me to connect with other people who might not understand where I'm coming from. I'm somebody on the spectrum who is considered hyperverbal. So I had very advanced language skills at a young age, was a very avid reader. So
You answering up.
so that also kind of helped me because as a kid, if I was feeling upset or something, I could tell my mom, hey, I'm upset or I don't like this or whatever. So for the most part.
Okay, so wait, because you answering the questions as I'm looking at it, I'm like, okay, she's already talking about it. Let me ask the next question. What are some sensory experiences that are particularly difficult for you, or was like loud noises, bright lights, certain textures?
So bright lights for me because I also struggle with chronic migraine and it's like a trigger for chronic migraine. So bright lights. I also have misophonia, which if you haven't heard of that, that's
I was about to say, what's that?
that's like so I can't deal with the sound of people chewing.
Oh, okay.
And it's like it literally feels like somebody is like clawing at my back. That is like no, it's fine. I can hear it. But like sometimes if I'm at home, I can like pick up on it. And it was one of those things my mom just thought I was just being particular about. But as I've gotten older, I've been able to express like sometimes like if I'm eating in the same room as somebody, I will put my AirPods in because I'm like, I can't I cannot do this, y'all. Like that's like one of the things. Certain smells, so like I can't do the smell of bleach. Like I know people love a clean house. I will do Fabuloso over bleach. Bleach will almost make me throw up. What else? A lot of noise can be tricky, which is funny because I used to really like going to concerts as a kid, but noise is a huge trigger for me, which is funny because I used to be the manager at Hart Plaza in 2023. So all summer long, it's just noise,
Girl,
noise,
you been doing your
noise.
thing.
People. And now I would just be there for 8 hours, just be like, Lord, let me go home because this is just too much. Or just sometimes like just the white noise, like hearing people's background conversations or other little things. So a lot of the times when I'm at work, my door is either closed to my office or I either have, AirPods in and that's just, how I work.
growing up, did you have any like food aversions? Did you do like feeding therapy or like what was therapy like back then for you?
So I did not have an IEP or 504 plan. So I never did any type of like OT, speech therapy, ABA. I didn't get accommodations until college, and those look a little bit differently than when you're looking for somebody who is in the K through 12 school system. So I did like talk therapy because of some of my anxiousness as a child, and I continued to do talk therapy in college. But that's something I don't have a personal experience with, like any type of early intervention or anything like that.
Because you got diagnosed so
late.
So late.
Yeah. And because I didn't struggle academically like I did.
I was gonna ask you
during
that
this
too. Like,
period.
how was school for you?
Yeah, that's what I thought.
Yeah.
Like, how was it navigating
With no
like
IEP.
navigating through school? I mean, of course you didn't.
She didn't
like,
know, so-
Yeah.
But how
did that
was it
cause any
like?
issues?
So I went to a small Catholic school on the east side of Detroit called St. Bartholomew, and I basically went to school with the same kids from kindergarten through 5th grade. It was a very small environment. Like there were no more than probably 12 kids in the classroom. And the teachers really knew me. My mom was on the PTA. And honestly, I thrived in that environment.
And I think it's probably because it was still inclusive. Like it wasn't so many people in
It's
there.
kind of like a
Yeah.
Montessori setup.
Yeah, yeah.
So it wasn't a lot of kids, and a lot of the kids, like I went to private school up until middle school, so I didn't interact with the public school system until I was 11, and we'll get to that in a second. But I strived academically. Like my parents were very much like, you gonna play this game during the summer, but you also gonna be doing a reading log and doing this workbook and going for like the summer like reading program and reading intensive. So I was a kid, and even as an adult, I always loved school. I liked the feeling of excelling academically. So I didn't necessarily struggle in school with able to, retain concepts or complete the work. That was fine. I've been on the honor roll since kindergarten. Honor roll, dean's list, all of that. What kind of struggle was when I got to middle school in 6th grade, I went to a predominantly white school in St. Clair Shores. So I went from an all black private school to being one of the first Black people these kids are interacting with. And also, them kids at the private school, I don't want to be me, but they had home training. They knew when the teacher gave them that look and they called their mama, that was it. These kids, when I got to public school, and they like to go back and forth with the teacher, and it was just such a bigger, way more kids. Like it was a different, and I didn't know anybody there. Like I went from like having all of my friends to be at school in my neighborhood to not, knowing anybody. So I would say like when I was in 6th grade, like I was so overwhelmed I didn't talk. The kids thought until like 7th or 8th grade, they thought I was a mute because I just didn't talk, or I didn't really like, I had friends and stuff, but it took me until like the 8th grade to start having like, oh, these are the people who I'm getting invited for the sleepovers and birthday parties and things like that. And even like I will say in high school, like the biggest thing I dealt with was a lot of the racism because again, I was in high school in 2016 when Trump got elected for the first time. Them little kids at the schoolhouse thought that was funny. They thought it was something funny. So not only am, I don't know I'm autistic, but I'm also a very outspoken Black girl, and they don't like that. Because in high school, those kids would try to buck up against me. I'm coming back to you with a million, like, I'm gonna hurt your feelings.
I know that's right.
Like, I was not like, and I was also so deep in my interest, and kids would make fun of me for that. But I'm like, you're not passionate about nothing. I'm passionate about something. I'm gonna be somebody. I'm gonna be a writer, a speaker, or whatever. So to me, I felt different than other kids. But a lot of my friends in my friend group had ADHD or were autistic or had similar experiences to me. So I necessarily I wasn't the most popular in high school. Like people knew me. They was like, yeah, she really smart. She put together. But me and my friends, we was watching anime and going to Warped Tour and cosplaying and going to Comic-Con, and like we did our own thing. So
and you naming all this up, and I don't know what you're talking about. I know you know, but I'm like, what?
So because you kind of did that high school experience help with the transition to Michigan State? Because I I'm from Detroit, and it was all predominantly Black schools, and then when I went to college is when I started experiencing like different demographics?
Yeah. So I would definitely say, like, when I got to college, I was on a pre-immersion program called Magic, which is like a week-long program, like after, in between orientation and like moving. And a lot of the kids, they was like, so you didn't go to Cass? You didn't go to King? But like, you from Detroit, like, where did you go? But a lot of them were scared to speak up in class because they had not been in a predominantly white environment. They were used to everybody looking like them. And I feel like for me, the transitions, well, I knew I wanted to go away to college when I was 11. And when I got to high school, I was like, I'm not staying in St. Clair Shores. I'm not staying in Macomb County. This is for the birds. Like, I want to go to MSU. And so when I got to MSU, I knew how to navigate some of those things. I maybe had the cheat codes to navigate in some of the stuff that some of my other peers didn't. And I feel like sometimes they were maybe afraid to branch out, and not just me, white people, but other Black people from different perspectives, international students, Latino students. So I think being at a predominantly white high school gave me those skills to advocate and to know how to, work through some of those trickier situations. It gave me a set of social skills some people don't get until they're 18, 19, 20. I had to develop that set of social skills at 11. So
That was good. No, go ahead. Go ahead.
So, when, like, once in college, and it's okay if you don't want to get too deep into this, when did you start noticing that you need accommodations?
So I realized I needed accommodations like my first semester before my mental health got bad. I had these like terrible migraines from like 16 to like 19. I would have migraines like 4 days out of the week. And I went to the TA, the teaching assistant for my math class, and I was like, I have these migraines. I got to miss school sometimes because of it. And he was like, you can get like papers for that. It's accommodations. I'm like, it's accommodations for migraines? Because the only thing I knew of an IEP or 504 plan was kids who, left the general education classroom to go take their class somewhere else, or kids who were in a, self-contained special education classroom. I didn't know what accommodations looked like in a college sense. So I went down to the Resource Center for Persons with Disabilities at MSU, and my advisor, Caleb Sandoval, may he rest in peace, he passed away my junior year. Without him telling me how to advocate for myself and showing me what was available to me, I probably would have never graduated.
Wow.
And it turned out when I met my best friend later on in college, we didn't know we had the same accessibility specialist.
Wow.
I didn't even know that was a thing in college.
Right.
I wish I could have accommodated to that class I had to take 3 times.
So I got the accommodations first for chronic health, then for my mental health, and then I got sick again with a chronic health issue. And so that just gave me things like extra time on tests, being able to attend class virtually and not in person, preferred seating so I could sit up, or I could use like a AI note taker or get transcribed notes. But a lot of my classes were so small. Classes in my major were already doing this. Like, they would be like, oh, here's the notes, or we have a group note document. So the major I was in at MSU was very accommodating. Like, it was probably like 30 people in my graduating class from MSU, and I was the only Black woman. So, I was, that kind of showed me I needed accommodations. But up until then, I was like, I just deal with these migraines. I'll just take some Zofran, pop Excedrin, lay down with the lights off. But I didn't consider that being a chronic health issue. When I got more into my own experience with disability, I didn't realize how deep the disability community went. I thought it was just, okay, you got your people in wheelchairs, you got people who are deaf and blind, and then you have people who are autistic. But, kind of with my self-experience of what I had to go through, that showed me, like, if I'm going to succeed, I'm going to have to humble myself and ask for some help. And there's nothing wrong with that.
Right.
I still had to show up to class and do the work and write the paper and write the assignments and take the test. I still had to do everything else everybody had to do. I just had a couple of things in place that made it more equitable for me to be able to show up and be productive in that classroom and be the best student I could be.
That's what's up.
That is.
It seemed like Michigan State pretty inclusive.
On some things.
Yeah,
But that's a conversation for a different time.
Okay, I just have a few more questions, and then we can talk about some other stuff. What kind of support do you feel is most helpful for you, whether from your family, friends, or professionals? What kind of support did you feel like was the most helpful?
So one of the most helpful things for me was talk therapy. Like I did cognitive behavioral therapy, and I've done like outpatient therapy. I've done group therapy. I've done like psychiatric day program. And having a therapist, my last round of therapy, I had a Black woman therapist, and she was just so understanding because she understood that nuance of you're a Black woman juggling all of this. And honestly, just having somebody to hear me out or to, reflect back on me. Because one thing I deal with the autism and ADHD and bipolar is the cognitive inflexibility or that rumination or that fixating on just one thing and not being able to let it go. And sometimes like talking to my mom, she'd be like, you've been kind of dwelling on this. You gotta let it go, or, learning to not fixate on things so much.
Is that
That's
is that a woman? I'm just.
No, it's not. It's not. I don't
What,
think
You
so.
sure that it's not a like
It's
a
not a
woman
woman's
to
thing.
Always fixate and don't always got to
no,
win the
he didn't.
conversation.
No, he didn't.
No.
No, he didn't.
Mm-mm.
I don't got dice here. I need to chill out.
Yeah, we gonna jump you.
Oh, all right.
All right,
Sorry
my
to
next
cut you.
question.
No, go ahead, Charlie.
So yeah, that just that has helped me. Having supportive family who hear me out. Like again, my mom is somebody who always urges me to advocate for myself because I'm the type of person I will push myself past my limits to, achieve something or to get something done. So my mom is always there to check me and be like, yeah, I think you might be overcommitted to this. Maybe you need to dial back. Like she's really taught me, and even I would say like my friends and my boyfriend have really taught me that I don't have to give 110% to everything. I can show up and give 98, 55, 42, 0 some days.
And you just like that's just not good enough, but
No.
it is.
Yeah, and I struggle with that. Like I struggle with like a lot of perfectionism because I'm also aware of like, being a Black woman in the workplace, being a Black woman, being a Black disabled woman at a PWI, and this assumption that you have just been given things that they just let anybody all into Michigan State and that you didn't have to. Like I had a girl in high school tell me the only reason I got into college was because of affirmative action. And this girl didn't even apply to go to college. So not knowing how much I had put in high school, volunteering, I worked 2 jobs in high school. I did all of this stuff to make sure I was set up for success. And I, being successful, achieving my goals is very important to me. But I don't have a dimmer. It's either on or off. It's all or nothing. So kind of learning to kind of, dial it back or tone it up depending on the situation. But I've had to learn that as I've matured, as I've gotten older, and also just interacting with, different types of people too.
Okay. No, go ahead, Mike.
No, because you hit something, and it's something for the whole panel here. Is that a similar mentality? Like, I mean, you started puzzle piece. You started Change the World for You. Do you feel the same way with like being a Black woman and entering business or just like the workforce? Do you feel like the odds are kind of
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do.
Absolutely. Absolutely. Yeah.
How do you approach it?
You just got to do it. You just
Yeah.
got to do it.
Yeah,
At
you
this
gotta go
point,
hard.
You got to have your tough skin. You got to put your big girl panties on and you just got to do it. It's no turning back. It's like, okay, if I don't do it, then won't nobody know about this.
Mm-hmm.
If I don't say anything, what's going to happen? But if I say something,
We helping people.
look what's
We
happening.
spreading
Look
awareness.
what's happening. We on the whole podcast.
Yeah.
I definitely, because when I went to college, I did the same thing. Man, I got straight A's in high school, physics, calculus. We had a teacher from Russia teaching, so she had broken English, and you know what I'm saying, I did well. I noticed when I got to college, I kind of had that I felt out of place. I felt like I think when you go to college, you almost feel like you gotta work like that, and it was only two I was one of 2 Black people that graduated for plastics. So you kind of go through college, you work hard, you almost feel like you don't deserve there just because of some of the things that go around that's in your head are really there. And then once I got out into the workforce, I feel the same way. You know what I'm saying? I go out, even though you paid your money, you got your degree, and you go out and start working, it's almost like you feel like that you don't belong there, or but that forces you to do what you were saying, to where you just 100% everything, 110% everything. and that could really like burn you out.
Yeah.
Yeah, it can. It can. And then you get to thinking about like what if it don't go right, or you just get in your head about certain things. Like when we was having this discussion the other day about what we was talking about. But yeah, you just kind of get in your head and you just start thinking about what ifs, like, but you can't let that get in the way. You just got to keep going. So I definitely understand and congratulate you for just being 110%, because a lot of people don't even get that far.
No, that's true. I promise. I keep saying last.
No,
question,
for real.
but-
But you
What?
keep saying this.
All right,
This, show,
no,
this our
all right,
show.
listen, I know. What? Because I think this could kind of happen in a lot of like households. You go talk to a therapist. The therapist kind of breaks stuff down to you, or your psychiatrist. You know what I'm saying? They break stuff down. How you had to translate that to family? Was that a big hurdle?
I would say
That's a good question.
Okay.
Ooh.
I'm gonna sit over here with my bracelets on.
yeah.
And did you want to, before you answer that question, did you want to go to therapy? Like, because sometimes people be like, I'm not even gonna say sometimes people, because I'm kind of like that too. I don't feel comfortable enough with really talking to somebody that I just don't know. And I know that that's probably bad, but it's probably good and bad. But I'm just like, I don't want to talk to them about nothing. Like, they can't help me. They can't, I'm just like,
Yeah. So I would say, for me, that I had a family that was willing, because again, I was in therapy when I was a lot younger. So my parents had already walked that route. And I do come from a very like churchy family. Like my mom is a reverend, my uncle has a church. And so we didn't live in a family where we was like, prayer is just enough. Well, no, God gave you Advil. God gave you the doctor, the nurse. So, use that. When I sought out therapy for the first time in college, I had been in like a 3-month manic episode, coming into depression. I was having anxiety attacks every day. I was dealing with, one of the things I dealt with my bipolar was paranoid delusions. So I thought somebody was trying to break into my door. And I was like, I need to talk to somebody. Like, my mom can't fix this. I need somebody who's a professional, because now this is life or death. Like, if I don't go find help, I'm not going to be here much longer. And so for me, the therapist, for me, I had went to like the counseling and psychiatric services at school, and I got paired up with a therapist, and she was helpful, because sometimes having that person who doesn't know all your business, or you don't feel like, oh, it's going to get back to my mama or my granddaddy or my auntie, having that impartial third party has been very helpful for me, and also provides me with a different perspective of my situation. So I sought out therapy because I wanted to. And I was going to seek out therapy even if my mom felt some kind of way. She didn't, thankfully. But, and especially when I had first come out of like inpatient psychiatric care and was still in that post-crisis mode, when I was trying to figure out, my mom was going with me, taking me to therapy. My mom was in those psychiatrist appointments with me.
So these are all as an adult.
Yes.
Okay, but as a child, like, you never had any symptoms or anything as a child to make your parents say, let's go get her tested?
So with things like bipolar, things like mood disorders and things like bipolar typically do not present until around 18 or 19 years old. Okay. So there is really no way to anticipate how and it will manifest. It was just literally a matter of time. But because I think one of the other things is, and I talk about this in a presentation I'm giving at a conference soon, is because I didn't really struggle in school. Like, I had like friendship issues or social issues, but I chalked that up to just being a kid. And I was always kind of different. I was always kind of nerdy, kind of awkward. So I was like, this is just my cross to bear. I'm just going to be a little different and do my own thing. But there was really nothing, early on that the doctor said or that the teacher saw that was, concerning to them. And again, this is the early to mid 2000s. So unless your child is on, a higher support needs end of the spectrum, they're not really, looking for those type of things.
Yeah. That's right. That's right.
So your parents, or your family was pretty open to the conversations, because I think that sometimes in our households or outside our immediate family, even if you got a special needs, they kind of like family just try to brush it off or, oh, I remember, MJ, he was diagnosed with speech delay. Just put him around other kids, he'll talk. Or I started noticing the sensory thing with loud noises and certain environments. But, when parents like, you notice something different with your kid and you could kind of like get in a state of denial. But if you take family advice, which I don't think family are trying to hurt anything, they just they only do what they know.
Absolutely.
But it can be a hurdle once you start going through this process of, getting a diagnosis and learning accommodations for the rest of your family, so you don't snap on them.
Yeah. But I would say too, like my family has kind of known how I've always been. And so they have, they've always accommodated me, even if they didn't know that's what they were doing. Right. So, for me, I had a family that was open, that was willing to listen. I remember when I called my mom, she was a little like, okay, so why do you think you're autistic? She wasn't mad at me, but she wanted to know more. And so when we worked with the Sunfield Center, they really broke it down to her and my dad. Like we had a whole feedback session where she went over the evaluator, went over the 34-page diagnostic, all of the test results and things like that. And my mom asked a lot of questions. I asked a lot of questions. But I think for autistic adults and late diagnosed adults, I feel like the families can still play a role, especially because like I live at home. I'm very close to my family. Sometimes family or parents or the adults in the room, quote unquote, have to humble themselves and realize maybe I don't know everything, but I can always do better. And I say this in my speech too. I would rather have an imperfect, inflexible parent than an authoritarian who thinks they knows everything and is never wrong. I would rather see my parents as human and willing to grow and change with me than somebody who knows everything.
Yes, absolutely. Yes. Are there any misconceptions you wish people would stop believing about autism?
Yes, and my biggest one is, and you hear this from a lot of old people, we didn't have no autism, ADHD back in my day. Yes, you did, but you didn't call it that because folks was getting institutionalized or our community did not have the supports in the language for that.
Or the resources. Nobody even I never even knew nothing about autism until my son was diagnosed. I knew about ADHD, like she said. I knew about disabilities, people in a wheelchair or deaf people, or, I didn't know nothing about autism. So you're right. They didn't have the resources. So, of course, they ain't nothing wrong with you. And, ain't nothing wrong with them. He just bad or,
it's a discipline issue.
Yeah.
It's not a discipline issue.
Yes.
Right.
Yep.
So I think that's the biggest misconception. And also, I think people sometimes they have an experience with one autism person who's on a certain part of the spectrum, and they think everybody
is the same.
Is like that.
It's a lot of variation in behaviors, and
it's a lot of similarities with behaviors and food aversions, and in the autistic community, a lot of people like we see every day on social media. Sensory issues, or like MJ and Brennan can be nonverbal, and they're of age now, so we expecting them to have some type of language or whatever, but it's coming. Like it's a lot of similarities between kids, but everybody is different.
Yeah, everybody is different. It's just like if you meet one Black person from Detroit, the Black experience in Detroit is probably very similar to the Black experience in Dallas, but those are those cultural or geographic differences. So when they say autism is a spectrum, they really do mean autism is a spectrum. And I think people sometimes fail to realize that. I think that there needs to be more space for Black women and girls, because Black women and girls aren't being difficult or uppity or acting childish. Like their brains are just wired differently. And as somebody who was seen like as that weird Black girl in middle and high school, I didn't dress how everybody dressed. I did things the way I wanted to do it.
So there's a lot of people that was being like real judgmental towards
or like, oh, you like rock music, so you must not like being Black. Well, no, that's or having just a variety of interests. So I think that having a more intersectional approach to autism is very important, and I especially for Black women and girls, because I didn't really have nobody, I didn't have a me to look up to when I was younger, right? When I was in high school, there was only one Black teacher at my high school, and she only taught self-contained special education. So I didn't really like have like that person like, this is this Black woman who has gone through things like me that I can aspire to be like.
So that's why you kind of doing it now to
Yeah.
help others out.
Yeah, because it's just going to be more common, and I think with social media, we've opened up a lot of more conversations and things like that. Like I'm speaking at the Autism and Black Conference in 2 weeks, which is
That's the one in Florida.
Yes.
Go girl.
this will be my second time speaking there. But like again, Maria Davis Pierre started autism in 2020. I didn't know about autism in Black until last year when one of my mentors came to me and was like, I'm doing a panel on storytelling and representation, and I need an autistic voice. And I'm like, what's autism in Black? And now a year later, I'm speaking in person there.
That's
what's
good.
up.
That's
Like,
real good.
we didn't have that like in 2017, 2018, 2019. And especially for our young women, like that post-college to high school, that young adulthood, like that 18 to 25, it's not a lot of guidance. And not everybody's advice can apply to us. So I'm very passionate about, speaking up and being the person that I needed to be when I was younger. And hopefully somebody else, another young person, a parent, a teacher, a coach, just that's really important to me. Just building a more intersectional community and approach.
Hearing you talk is just like more motivational why I'm doing what I'm doing, because Deja will eventually be your age. And I was that ignorant girl in school that was teasing the kids and stuff like that. I had an autistic girl that stayed next door to me. And she used to get off the bus, and I used to play with her sister. And she'd get off the bus, and we'd tease her because she'd be making all the same sounds that Deja make now. Getting off the short bus, teasing her. Deja get off the same short yellow bus. So all these things is like, oh, did God punish me? But it's like, no, this is what you're supposed to pay attention to. You're supposed to do these things. And instead of teasing that girl, I should have been there and been more helpful. And so now it's like,
But you wasn't taught that
I wasn't.
you growing up. You wasn't taught that. So now you have a daughter that's on the spectrum, and you can teach her
and
how
I'm
you.
teaching everybody else too.
That's why it's dope what everybody kind of doing up here. We just,
Yeah.
I just feel
Because
like
I was bad too. As hell.
You look like
I really was though.
Look like it
I don't
Yeah,
look.
I
I don't
was
look.
bad. Oh yeah,
I'm
I was
just-
bad.
With my glasses
I'm
on,
in
I
all
don't
type
look
of
like-
trouble. I just want to make sure, just for the record. So you saying the last word is not a woman thing, right? Just
No, it's not.
Okay, you sure?
Mm-hmm.
I got 6 little sisters.
I'm positive.
Okay,
You got
I'm gonna give myself.
What else
No,
you
but
got,
I
Mike?
think I think that it's dope. I think that everybody like got a contribution. Like whether you ABA, whether you speech, whether you licensing this, whether you just telling your story. I feel like everybody kind of got a contribution, and everybody's trying to do the best they can to kind of like help it out. So just nobody should downplay what they're doing, even if you just got a story. Like that's just good enough that you never know who you can help.
Right. Okay, my last question for you. I've been hitting you with all these questions. What advice would you give to someone recently diagnosed with autism or a parent raising their child?
I would say, take your time to feel your feelings. It can be, you can feel for the adults, you can feel overwhelmed. Some adults might feel disappointed that those parents or caregivers in their life did not see those signs or those things weren't acceptable. So to grieve is normal. I think for parents too, because parents have, when their child is born, they have a certain expectation of what their child is going to be like. And that's not saying that they can't achieve it or they won't grow into that. But even if they don't achieve it, that doesn't mean they're not living a purposeful and a meaningful life. So I think is to take your time to feel your feelings, but also realize the possibilities are endless. Like I did not think that I was going to have a living being a speaker and being a writer full time. The stuff that kids picked on me about being passionate about in high school, that pays my bills. I'm getting flew out to conferences now.
That's what's up.
No, that's right.
So
That's right.
it's opened up a lot of doors for me. I think parents, surround yourself with a village, right? If that's having to find support groups like these ladies,
Good question.
like these ladies have here, I think it's important to, interact with them, I think it's important to understand your rights as a parent. There are a lot of people out there who are IEP coaches and, they can speak to that. Understand what's available to you and your child, and also realize not everything will work for your child. What might work for Tommy won't work for Billy. And you just have to be patient and be willing to work with your child, because I think people sometimes think people on the spectrum are being difficult on purpose. But like I say, accommodations aren't a preference like Pepsi or Coke. It's necessary for me to thrive and to interact with this environment. So, and I think you can be your child's biggest advocate, especially with other family, with older people in the family, or them judgmental people at the church who want to look some kind of way. Maybe your baby's having a meltdown or it's stimming really loud. Instead of saying, "Oh, I would have snatched that little ass up" or whatever.
Yeah, I kind of got that too for
I
me,
used to get that
for
all
Brendan,
the time.
and I just had to like really explain what the situation was. I mean, at that time and at that moment, I knew they probably didn't understand what it was, or
Still don't.
yeah, they don't,
Eventually,
they
you
don't.
And
But I know how to
Deja
manage
being
it more
older
now.
Yes.
Yeah.
I know how to manage it, because at first I used to be like, all right, I'm about to just go, like, like just come
Yeah.
on, like I'm straight. Or they'd text and say, hey, we going over here, we going over auntie whatever house, and I used to be like, yeah, all right, I ain't going, like I'm straight. Like me and Brandon we staying home.
I'll never forget this one time in Meyer, Deja, she got mad. I don't know what she was mad at, but she took her she knocked all the cans on the floor and started rolling
I know you was in there like,
she just started rolling around on the floor. And so I'm like, well, they need their job. I'm like,
job
you finished?
security.
Yeah, job security. I'm like, you finished now? And so she got up.
so you
and
was
we kept-
calm?
Yeah.
What I'm gonna do? What I'm gonna
Because
do?
they feed off that energy. If you start
If
tripping
I
out,
get
yeah.
upset, she
Yeah,
gonna keep going.
they do.
But eventually, like I used to be upset. My mama, her feelings still get hurt when people stare and stuff like that. Stare.
Mhm.
What you looking at?
Mhm.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Your bad kid walking up and through the aisle crying and acting fool too. So okay, mine canceled.
So I really ain't,
Yeah.
I really ain't had to go through that not much, because I'm already like a strict parent, because I just know like how bad I was. So but so I'm really
You don't
like,
hide it well.
yeah, I'm on the strict, I'm on the strict side a little bit. I just know like I kind of get him that attention to like, don't play with me, like, you know what I'm saying, like sit down, do
that
this.
too, but
But
it just don't
sometimes
be that day.
it do go over his head. But I don't know. I used to. It's a lot. It's just a whole
I know
process. And
Deja was cramping.
Oh.
She was cramping.
Drop,
When she-
pull the book up.
Yep.
Mhm.
Here we go. First one. Let's go.
So
But
she was cramping at the
cramping,
store.
and I guess she had a cramp, and she just let loose. And I'm like, well,
I
baby,
don't
what
blame
you
her.
gonna do? Yeah, I know what it's like.
Mhm.
But it's crazy. But yeah, you used to get your feelings hurt with the white people staring at you. She Deja was on her bottle till 4 or 5, and I used to put her in the cart, and she's too big to be doing that. And she's mind your business. Keep it
I used to be
going.
the same way though. When I used to see like
Me too.
big kids and
Mhm.
strollers, I used to be like,
Why
why the hell they got them in
Yeah.
there? Like these,
Mhm.
But now, once you know, and now that I'm actually going through it myself, I know, and I
You're
I
more
know the reason.
sensitive.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
That's crazy.
And I will also say too, autistic adults still need their parents. Like I work a full-time job. There are times when I've had meltdowns as an adult that I need my mom to kind of focus, or I need to co-regulate. So there are certain things about autism that might grow and change as someone gets older. But having those big feelings or stuff, yeah, they still come. And I'm 25 and I still get some pretty big feelings and sometimes where I feel overwhelmed. So it's, you learn how to cope with it as you get older, as your mind matures, as you get more, tools in your toolkit. But some things change, but some things, some things stay the same. But
Do you mind me asking you, what do your meltdowns consist of? Like,
yeah, so the last time I was an autistic burnout was when I had my Jet City job and I was burnt out over, and I did not go into work one day and I was just like crying to my mom and screaming. I was just pacing back and forth and I was just getting upset and then I would settle down and then something else would happen. I would just start screaming and just crying. I was just like, like I would just like explode. I would just be so
Like
upset,
overwhelmed,
like
and
so
upset.
unconsolable because I'm upset because this job is stressing me out. My boss is mean as hell. I don't like this is a good paying job. This is my first job out of college. I don't want to quit and not have a job.
Mm-hmm.
So like this very overwhelmed, or sometimes it's just like a shutdown where I just turn off my phone. I'll get underneath my weighted blanket and I'll just be like,
I was gonna ask you. That was my next question. How do you cope with your McDonald's? Go ahead. Y'all in there. Go ahead.
yeah, go ahead. So for me, I try not to get to that point. So using things that I learned in therapy, like taking a deep breath, getting off of social media, giving myself time to rest and recoup, deep breathing. I do essential oils sometimes, making sure I'm taking my nigga be cool pills because if I don't, that's just gonna make
That's right.
everything worse. Like I take medication and I'm not ashamed to say it.
I like that
Because
too.
I know if I'm not medicated and I'm ADHD, dysregulated, bipolar, manic, that's not good for nobody. So really, treating my other underlying conditions helped me manage my autism a lot more. Realizing when I need to get a break. Like the workplace I work in now is so accommodating. If I'm feeling overwhelmed, I can work from home. I don't got to be on camera for nothing.
So when you started, did you like tell them like, I'm autistic. I might need. I'm sorry.
No.
I got all mine out. I'm good. I'm
I'm
good.
sorry. Go ahead. You can go next.
So
It
was-
want to talk.
it was funny. In my very first job, I had talked about like I'm passionate. So I used to be a freelance writer for Visit Detroit in Pure, Michigan, writing about accessible travel. And I had a nonprofit that had an accessible travel guide. Rest in peace, Detroit Accessibility Project. But
Rest in peace.
things happen. I don't have a website no more. But I didn't outright tell them because I was like, okay, I don't know how they're going to react in this environment. And I was about 4 months into my job and we were packing s'mores for the big Halloween event for Price and Rec. And my boss was using the city page to creep on my personal Instagram. And she came up to me and was like, I didn't know you had all of those challenges. That's why you're so passionate about this stuff. And I'm like, how far back into my Instagram that you going that you...
Mm-hmm.
So, like, in that case, like, I kind of got outed, but that didn't make her more accommodating.
Mm-hmm.
So, with accommodation and disclosure, you really have to weigh your things. Like, sometimes if I'm one-on-one and I feel comfortable with a coworker, I will say that. Other times I will say, yes, I'm passionate about disability justice. I've been an advocate. I've done this, that. Like, in my current job, I haven't disclosed, but, like, I have my own office. I don't have to be in the office 5 days a week, 24/7. So, the work environment is just a lot more accommodating naturally without me having to
Actually say like, hey, I'm autistic and I might need accommodations and
Yeah.
stuff. That's good. Go ahead, Tiffany. Go ahead, Mike.
No,
I ain't saying nothing.
Oh,
For
I'm
one,
sick.
when you were talking, I heard you say something about a boyfriend. So how does he deal with you? How does he know how to deal with you as well? Is he on the spectrum as well?
That's a good question.
So I was a late bloomer. Like I didn't date in high school. I didn't start dating until like college. And so a lot of the mistakes my peers were making at 14 and 15 with boys, I was making at 18, 19, 20,
Dang.
21, 22.
I had a little boyfriend when I was in 5th grade.
Me too.
Those boys was
I
not
had two of them.
That's them D girls.
the boys was not looking for me. I told 2 little boys I liked them in the 4th grade. They laughed in my face at lunch. And I was like, oh, never again. So
I had a 2-pack. The light skinned one and the dark skinned one.
That's right.
So when I met my boyfriend and I was on a dating app, I was like, hey,
These are the things that you have to prepare for, Tiffany. So prepare yourself.
yeah.
I'm not ready.
Because, like,
You better get
that's
ready.
how people be.
You
people
too,
now.
Mike.
And I don't go to the bar and stuff. So it's like, I'm going to see what's in my area. So I got on the dating app. And when I met my boyfriend, I would be talking, texting a couple, hey, how you doing?
Was you scared?
To be on the dating app?
Yeah.
No.
Or no, not really to be on the app, but just to like when it's finally time to like meet up with him.
Yeah, so like when I had met my boyfriend, I had told him like I'm autistic. So if you want a serious relationship, I'm gonna need you to say we are going on a date or this is just a platonic friend hanging out.
You got straight to the point.
Yeah,
I like
and we'll be
it.
together 2 years in July. So
I know that's right,
Your
girl.
mama said, oh, really, Bree?
I don't see the comments. Let me click on.
Your mama said, "Oh,
What's up? So how did it go? Like,
So
how is it going?"
it's going well. Like
She said they've been together for 2 years.
be 2 years, July 8th.
Okay.
So I think
Have
like
you ever had a breakdown on him, and how did he handle it?
so.
Share that with me too. 'Cause
I had-
I don't know. Not you.
Oh, sorry.
Tiffany.
So
share
I
me the
think
live.
one thing that I struggle with is like my boyfriend is a lot more laid back than me, and he doesn't always hold things to heart like I do.
Mhm.
So like when I was dealing with like the stress of my job, I was bringing that into our relationship, and I had to kind of learn.
I'm sorry. Go ahead.
No, you good. I had to kind of learn how to leave work at work, and this is my relationship. Like my partner is there
Girl,
for
I
me.
have to do that now.
But I don't want to have to, dump all of this on him. But I mean, it's just like anything else, open communication. And we're very similar in the things that we like to do. So we're creatures of habit. Like we don't be at the,
Comic-Con
yeah,
and anime.
yep.
Okay.
So we just got back from Disney World. We was at Star Wars Land. So we did that together, or we was at Comic-Con together
Okay.
in November. So finding somebody who has a similar interest, but who is not, because if I dated somebody as intense as I am, I stress myself out. So I could not imagine having that reflected back on me. So I'm glad to have a person who balances me out in the areas that, somebody who has a dimmer and not just that on and off switch like I was talking about earlier.
yeah, it seemed like you got quite a bit of support. I think you
Mm-hmm.
having your head on right kind of like helped you navigate it. And just like embracing therapy early.
She started everything early.
Yeah, like and I think that's why early intervention is just so key.
So important. Yep.
I-
Because by the time you get to that age, 18, 19, you kind of like ahead of everything. Not really ahead of everything, but you kind of like catching on to everything.
That's a
It's
critical
not that
age
much.
with trying to like navigate life in general.
That's
Yeah.
really
Yeah,
make
even
or
like
break.
right after college.
Right
like
after
you
college.
Yeah.
if you got student loans, you got 6 months to start paying
They
them
still in
back.
forbearance because I was on medical leave. You
Man,
just
if
gonna
I
hope they
could kick
forget
them,
about
I
them.
done used that one up.
You could keep
I think they
trying.
got me on call block if I call and try to do it now. But no, I mean,
You gotta use
I
the text
really,
now.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, new boys.
I give it up to you, because you handled a lot of these things during real critical ages. Even what you said in 4th grade, like, I never had a problem with the ladies that young, but I mean, just to deal with that, I mean that, deal with what you dealt with at a younger age, the sensory, and then that transition to public schools, and then working through that, and then that transition to, to colleges. I mean, that's a lot of big transitions, and you seem like you had a lot of support, and you handled it very well. I know, everybody got their ups and downs, but definitely kudos to you.
Yes.
How
Yes.
did your mother handle your diagnosis?
She had a lot of questions for the evaluator. So like she asked the evaluator, like, should I stay in talk therapy? Because I was in talk therapy. I have been in talk therapy for 2018 for 4 years at the time. I just finished my last bout of therapy in November. So she asked things about that. Like one of the things I struggle with being autistic, I also have a nonverbal learning disability. So things
What is
like
that?
with fine, it's not a profile of autism, but it is kind of co-occurring, but it's not in a DSM-5 yet. But so things like spatial,
What you was-
so things like spatial learning, like telling time, things like tying shoes, some fine motor skills are things that require more abstract thinking I struggle with.
Deja still thinks I heard you.
Define motors. I'm gonna talk about
Yeah,
that
but
next.
yeah.
So motor
Yeah.
skills was like as a little kid, like the way I held the pen was like funny.
Yeah.
And still until now, like bumping into stuff, tripping over stuff. Like my grandma used to tell me I was heavy handed because I would accidentally like break little toys and stuff. Not on purpose, but because like I struggle with like managing that. And one of the things that manifests for me is driving. I'm a very anxious driver. I still don't have my license and I'm 25. And
Really?
so I started driver's ed in high school, and I did fine. And one day I was in high school driving my car to work with my dad in the car, and somebody almost pulled out and almost sideswiped us. And so it's just a lot to focus on the road, to have somebody in the car. And I did really well when I had like a private driving tutor, but having your mom and daddy in the car and stop and
Yeah, that's
how-
why you can't
So
have
it's
them in the
not-
car.
It's anxious,
I
not,
be like that.
not road rage.
No, she just anxious. Like
it is a lot for
like
me
when
to
they
focus
say
on.
when they say you drive, you gotta drive for other people
Everybody,
too. You
yeah.
gotta drive for
Yeah.
everybody else. So
And
I understand how you.
Some of that stuff, like trying to like anticipate like how far to stop or how far to turn, it's harder for my brain to process that.
Mm-hmm.
So
It's
like,
that thinking ahead though.
Yeah, that
like
thinking
you
ahead.
think it seemed like you think ahead on things, like you well prepared.
Yeah.
and that,
but sometimes it's something like with driving where it's so many moving parts, that still has been a struggle for me. I'm hopefully gonna get my license this year for real. But like that's something I struggle with, and my mom was like, okay, well, I'll let you drive with me sometimes, or we'll just go to driver's training again, and ain't no shame in that. So my mom handled it well. I think like she wasn't one of them parents who put it out there like my baby is, like I don't like I would say, how some people y'all might identify as autism parents, because I was so late diagnosed and my mom went through a very different scenario than what y'all did with y'all kids. I don't necessarily have an autism mom. My mom is aware of autism. We talk about my experiences, but she kind of, in the situation I'm in, she encourages me to put myself out there and to advocate in my own way. So when it comes to this, I would say my mom has always been like my biggest, supporter in, navigating this and telling me like, hey, maybe you need to ease up on this, or maybe you fixating on this, or trying to see stuff from other people's perspectives, because that's also difficult for me as an autistic person. Some of that cognitive inflexibility with things like time management, having to be on a schedule, seeing things from different point of view. So I think my mom has been a big supporter of that, and she didn't treat me because I was grown at that point. I was in college, like, so my mom lets me advocate for myself, and in some scenarios, like she'll, tell somebody in the family, like, hey, she don't like all of that, like if we go out to eat, I don't want the restaurant people coming to sing happy birthday to me.
Wow.
She won't do that to me.
I seen it a few times on somebody page, like their children, or just comments saying like the kids don't like,
MJ used to cry.
yeah, stuff like that. So I
As soon as
didn't
you
see
start
that.
singing it, he used to like have a breakdown.
Yeah, I seen a lot of that. A lot of people commenting saying that their kids didn't like that, but that's I had a question for you. I just lost my
I got
train
it.
of thought. Oh wait,
Well,
go ahead,
this
Tiffany.
is not necessarily for Charlotte, but we are all autism parents here, and we know the signs. So looking back at signs now, do you think that you have some form of autism as well and you weren't diagnosed?
Everything she just said, seriously, everything you just broke down. Like when I drive, it's the same thing. The way I do stuff, how I want to be on time, 110% everything. I start feeling a certain way if I don't finish stuff. I'm real meticulous, so I definitely carry some characteristics for sure.
I think I do too.
Me too.
What would you say yours is, Tiffany? Because that was a good question.
Well, time. I used to get irritated about that. Now that's out the window. If
What,
I'm
being
just-
on time?
Yeah, I'm never on time.
Me neither.
Changed once you got your daughter.
Yeah.
I'm
Well,
never on time
know-
either, but it makes me feel some type of way. Like, dang, I really wish that I can just be on time. I really be wanting to be on time. Like, my intentions is to be on time, but I'm just never on
I'm
time.
never
So
on
I
time.
don't get too anxious.
I
I
don't
just
care no
accept if
more.
I'm gonna be late. Like if I'm gonna be late, it's like, okay, you need to just be more organized ahead of time, because then I start.
And I say that to myself
I'm
too,
not
but
punching the clock, I
I'm
don't
never
care.
on time.
I do not care.
Even punching the clock.
Yeah.
I'm just like, today I was 30 minutes late for work. It wasn't my fault, but I kind of, I was late, but I was just like, I'm here. My
I'm
mama said it
here.
too. She like,
My mama,
you
she
gotta
gets on my head.
get
all
on
the
it.
time.
And I'm like,
You're never on time.
Mhm.
You're never on time. I'm like, am I getting paid?
my mom
But
just
some
said
of my
that.
stuff would definitely be overcompensating, always making sure it's right, being a perfectionist. Always gotta have everything gotta match. Everything gotta be together.
That's
Attention
it.
to
Your
detail.
makeup.
Everything gotta match.
Yeah.
I don't want to.
My mom said, I think we all do in different ways. And I think
We
so
do.
too.
Mm-hmm.
I think so too.
Son, too, though.
Yep.
Oh, see, it's in there, and you just like you want them to do everything right too. So you are their example.
Mm-hmm.
So you want them to see you doing this, and you being on time, and me being on the computer, and me writing a book. Deja, she know, but it's crazy. She don't have to talk to me. She don't have to say nothing. But that girl knows she destined to be a star.
I know I get frustrated when things I know I'm not the only person, but when things just don't go right. I kind of like panic. I get emotional. I cry, and I'm real like tough for real. But I am a crybaby. But I just get like just overstimulated and just everything. I feel like everything is overwhelming to me. Like at that point.
She said dwelling on stuff.
Yeah.
I dwell on stuff all
Yeah,
the
I do
time.
too.
Like
It's hard for me to let
think
stuff
about
go.
something else. Think about something else, Tiffany. Think about something else. I constantly find myself saying that to myself. Think about something else. Stop thinking about that. Why you think about him? Why you think about what he?
I was doing that last night, laying down trying to sleep, and I just was like in my mind, I'm like, go to sleep, just like
Never turn it on.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
I don't want
So do y'all think that overthinking is a part of autism, or y'all just think that everybody overthinks? Because I really think that everybody overthinks.
I feel like everybody overthinks, but I think where some people can overthink and let it go, what I talk about, like that cognitive inflexibility, that's that autistic or ADHD, it shows up in a lot of neurodivergent conditions. I think because I think, yeah, like everybody overthinks, but to the point where it impacts your day-to-day life and you about to cry and ruin your whole day because you were late to work. Like, that's where that's the definition of a disability, is a condition that impairs someone's ability to, be in day-to-day life. So I think everybody overthinks, but sometimes when they're taken to the next level, that's when you kind of got to say like, okay, do I need some reinforcements for that? Do I need some help? Is that therapy? Is that talking to somebody at the church? Is it, do I need to, see medication or whatever? So
I probably want to go get. What y'all think about going to get tested? Because I probably think I want to go just to see.
I would definitely go.
Yeah, I go.
Y'all want to go together?
Yeah. And we could do a podcast on that.
Yeah, I think
Alright.
that's a good idea.
Because now, like, seeing all the symptoms, I'm like, I wonder, did my mama just like, no, ain't nothing wrong with her. She'll get it.
But then
Or
at the
did
same
she
time,
see
you gotta
signs
think.
and
You
stuff,
gotta
too?
think that nobody really knew what it was for real, or they was calling it something different. So
True.
yeah.
you would never know.
Because it's so many resources and stuff now from the time that I got Deja diagnosed. Like when I was trying to get Deja diagnosed, they weren't diagnosing until 4 and up.
Mm-hmm.
So I had to wait
Mm-hmm.
for 2 years when I knew it was something wrong. But then, too, I was still in denial just a little bit.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely was still in a lot of it. I'll take that back.
Mm.
I was in denial.
Accountability. I like
Yes, but when I seen her go bite that hunk out the wall, like it was an apple,
Mm.
I knew it was something wrong. And it's like, no, I'm smart. I got all this, huh?
How old was she when she got diagnosed?
She was 4.
Okay.
Yeah, she was like 4.5. She had just turned 4 because she was diagnosed in November, her birthday in August. So yeah, she had just turned 4. But I had kept saying something wrong. She not talking. She's not talking. She's not just every time I took her to the doctor, she's not talking. Oh, she's just gonna have to do speech therapy. It's the speech delay. I'm like, but okay, why she eating paint off the wall?
Mm-hmm.
What's wrong? What's going on with that? And they still, she'll grow out of it. Really? Like, it's okay. Lead in the wall. Like that's okay. So it took now compared to, because now they're diagnosing at 1 and 2.
Yeah, I heard
But,
too.
Yeah. So, but when Deja was coming up, I had to wait. So now it's all these resources. Now, do you still do? So you never did ABA?
I had no early interventions because we didn't know. I was fine in school. I was very, like, I had my particulars about stuff. They thought I was just a very anxious child.
Okay.
So they had me like talking to a social worker like at the school and stuff, but I was mainstream education from the time I was from K through 12, was in a mainstream classroom, went to class with everybody else, did everything just like how, most kids would do. We didn't, because it did not impact me academically, and it wasn't that I couldn't do the work. It was that.
And you was always verbal too. It wasn't no
That part,
sign.
I was just about to say that she talks.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a different thing too. Like Deja still, she won't talk at all.
So, and
It's
I know,
like pulling teeth.
I know we talked about not switching it.
No, go
Switching
ahead.
it. No, but so we touched base about this book, and without indulging too much into it, because definitely want people to purchase it. Like, I can't say some of the early signs because I know it's a woman thing. But like, what's some of what advice can you kind of give, or what signs that it might be coming around, and like, how did you deal with that?
Attitude.
I got a story.
I'm gonna tell you straight up, me attitude.
So
Attitude.
Deja started hers. Like, I definitely was not looking for it because she had just turned 10.
Oh, wow.
And it was like 3 days after her 10th birthday.
Mm.
So I was not looking for it at all. I think I was more distraught over it than she was. But now it's a tracker. So it's just like a woman.
The app will tell you,
Yeah,
hey, the next
it's
2
coming.
weeks.
Mm-hmm.
Or like me per se, I don't have one anymore, but I'm still pretty much synced into her. So I can start telling when it's coming too because I have those symptoms as well. So my attitude may be messed up or my breast may be tender.
Mm-hmm.
Those things is because we're synced up. Just because I don't have one anymore don't mean I still don't have those symptoms. So you definitely, okay, I feel it. Okay, it's coming.
Mm-hmm.
But it's on the calendar. So that's how you keep up with it and you be prepared. But you still not really prepared because you don't know how it's going to be. You don't know.
Because sometimes the days on the calendar change,
that person.
so it can either come early.
it
or
come
late.
early
Or late.
Come late. Or it could be heavy this time. Or it could be light this
Or
time.
if you're stressed out, it could not come at all.
Mm-hmm.
Yep. Or these cramps could be real bad this time. Or she might not have no cramps at all. But see, with her,
But if they don't, if
how
you,
do you know if she can't tell you, like, how do you?
that's why I created this.
That's what I'm saying.
So this is my period communication board. So she can go and point to these pictures. But prior to me having this and doing this,
Yeah,
I
how
pay
did you
attention
know?
to the signs. Like, okay, she laying down all day. She won't get up. She crying. She hitting herself. She fighting herself. She fall out on the floor, start rolling around on the floor. Those are the signs that I'm like, oh, she must be cramping. So Deja don't take medicine. She don't take pills. So gotta get the children's Motrin.
mm-hmm.
And hopefully that'll help. Put a hot pack on her stomach.
Mm-hmm.
Give her whatever she wants. She wants some ice cream. She has some ice cream. Whatever it takes.
That's another
because-
thing too. You get different cravings for different things. Yeah,
So,
it's crazy.
Yeah, I need Dice to come back, man. Where you at, Dice?
but it's a part of growing up, especially if you have a girl.
Mm-hmm.
If on
Thank
the
God I
spectrum
don't
or
have no
not.
girl.
On the spectrum or not. And every girl is gonna grow through this. It's just a part of being an adult. It's a part of coming into life. This is what happens. I wish that I was able to prepare her more.
Mm-hmm.
So she would have known what to expect when this happened. I wasn't even prepared. My mom didn't talk to me about it. I never knew.
I don't think my mom did either. Sorry,
I
mom.
got a book.
I don't think
before
we-
I started middle school, it's this little American Girl doll book called The Care and Keeping of You. And it's about like, this is what happens with your hormones and at a very age appropriate level. But I took that literally when they said like somebody's period is like 3 to 5 days. And I went back to my mom. I'm like, this is exactly what's going to happen. She was like, no, it's not.
Mm.
And I started my period in the 7th grade. And I remember I was bent over. My cramps were so bad. I had to go home
Every
from
month I went home.
school.
Every month I went home early. Every month. And it's just, you don't know.
Yeah.
I didn't know. Mine was coming. Mine didn't come till I was 13.
Mm.
But I was like, oh, Deja's ain't gonna come.
Yeah, until she got
Yeah.
10. But now they starting to
They starting early.
they're starting early, and on top of that, I want to talk about like hygiene. Brennan started being musty at the age of 4.
Deja started early too.
And when I say when I say clean, I'm clean, all that. But I had to go to his doctor and say, "Hey, something is going on. I don't know how he musty at the age of 4. Like musty, trip me out.
These kids,
I'm glad
took him to the
I'm glad
doctor.
MJ ain't
I
watching
took him
this
to the-
show because I noticed it when I made
Puberty
a mistake
hitting
and swiped
early.
the armpit by mistake, and I'm like, goodness gracious.
Yeah,
And I had to start him on.
I was so concerned. I went to the doctor and I asked him, "What's going on? Like he 4 years old."
it just gets worse.
They said puberty
As they
is.
get older,
Yeah, that's why I'm glad I ain't got no girl.
Yeah, because Deja's
'Cause
a
I ain't-
girl.
mm-mm.
She has hair.
Y'all killing me with this, man. Let's go ahead and just start these social
Yeah.
media analysts.
You know,
Let's go ahead and wrap
she's
this
a
up.
teenage girl.
We're gonna have to talk about that.
Everything I have to do for me as a woman, I have to do for her as well.
I'm so
So how
glad.
can because y'all done threw me off.
Yeah.
But how can you want to talk a little bit more about your event and how
Yeah, that's
people
coming
can
up.
find you?
Charlotte.
Me?
Yeah, yeah.
Oh,
Ooh.
Oh, we could go. You
Oh,
go first. Yeah.
Oh, okay. So my event is the tennis event is Saturday, April 19th, and my gala is Saturday, April 26th. You can find all that information on my website, ctw4you.com. Also on my social medias, everything. I'll share it to the Spectrum Talk as well. But you can find everything. The book is on sale. It'll be dropping April 1st, Autism Awareness Month. Daisy First Flow. Let's go.
Oh, my mom had said I wanted to know about discipline on the spectrum. I want to know about discipline on the spectrum.
What she mean?
I don't know.
We let-
She don't need to
Go
know
ahead,
because she
sir.
know I'm whooping.
Yeah. Oh, Deja don't get whoopings.
Really?
If that's the
MJ don't know.
So what
Deja
about?
don't get whoopings.
Well, I don't whoop my baby. But-
it's no.
I popped him a
younger,
couple times, but like if I get loud or if I get serious, then
She's
his feelings get hurt.
Yeah, like
So I get that spoon, and all I do is show her the spoon.
I
And
get the
then
comb.
she'll know.
I get the comb. That's what I do get
But
because
for
he
the
don't like
most
getting his hair
part-
done. So I be like, "You want me to go get that comb? You want your hair done?"
I should
And
start
he
doing
be, "All right,
clippers
stop
with
it."
MJ, like
Yeah.
yeah. The clippers.
Yeah.
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 Yep.
But no, Deja.
But
don't
no,
get
just not
whoopings.
blatantly whipping him. He never got like a whipping. Yeah, I done popped him a couple times here and there, but now it's more so
She
when I
better
say
than me,
something
she gonna tackle mine.
and I get loud, he'll look at me and he'll repeat what I'm saying. Like yesterday, he was doing something. I was like, "Brian, sit down now." And he was like, "Sit down now." And then he started crying. And I tried so hard not to laugh, but
Yeah, Deja's soft. She's soft, but she could tackle me. So
because they strong.
Me now, yeah.
So I will be speaking at the 5th annual Autism in Black Conference, April 11th through 13th. I will be speaking on April 12th from 3 to 4:15. I have a panel called Dear Mama, What Late Diagnosed Autistic Adults Want Their Parents to Know. If you would like to buy tickets for the event, it's live and in person in West Palm Beach, Florida. It's also a virtual event. You can go to Autism in Black on all social medias or just look up Maria Davis Pierre, who is the CEO and founder, and you can buy tickets there. If you buy virtual tickets or in-person ticket, that also gets you lifetime access to the vault. So about 2 weeks after, you'll get the recording, the notes. So if you need to, share with a friend or you need to go back and listen, I'm not selling tickets for that, but if you go to Autism in Black, you can find me on the website, and I'll be presenting Saturday, and I'll also be there, meeting and greeting and mingling with people. So, and this is the first one in person too. So that's exciting.
Yes,
How can
congratulations.
people find you on social media?
So people can find me on LinkedIn, Charlotte Batchelor, just my first and last name. Charlotte is spelled like Charlotte, North Carolina, and Batchelor is spelled like the TV show The Bachelor. And I'm on Instagram as Charlotte Says with 2 S's on the end.
That's what's up.
Yeah.
I think you are. I'm following you. Okay. I think I'm following all y'all.
Yeah, you are.
Show that book.
Okay, so as you guys may know, if you guys have Instagram and Facebook, of course, TikTok as well, I updated the book. I added some more pages in. I changed the cover. It's plenty more resources available in this book. You can find the book on all social media platforms, TikTok, Instagram, and Facebook. I also have an official website now. That is, thank you. That is in my Instagram bio. I want to say it's puzzlepiece.canva because I made it off of Canva. But it can be found in my Instagram bio. As well as t-shirts. I have Someone I Love Has Autism t-shirts and Proud Autism Mom t-shirts. These are the standard colors. This year for the autism walk, or just this year period, I changed the colors to blue and pink for the Proud Autism Mom shirts. So blue is for boys and pink is for girls, but you can get whatever color you want. And then the ones that says someone I love has autism will be still black and white.
Oh, all right.
I was about to say something else, but go ahead.
Oh, Mike Power with Adapt. So you could just Google Adapt. We about to come out with our gray awareness bracelets, and we're also coming out with a special space pack for the Spaceman MJ. So I'll be dropping that pretty soon. And once you Google, you go to Adapt, and if you go to the community page, we have Tiffany Jackson's events. We also have the autism and the information for the Autism in the D walk that's coming up on April 6th. So if you just go to adapt.com, click on the community page, we pretty much have a plethora of events. And we also have Hezekiah Kids and Dice Clark Paint the D Blue that's coming up on April 13th. So let's support everybody events, visit everybody's social media handlers to see what's going on. I post as many events as possible. If you want me to post more, just shoot me a message, and that's it.
Oh, I have one more thing. That's what I was gonna say. I will be on another podcast.
I saw that.
On the April 2nd. That's the actual Autism Day.
Yeah.
And that information is on Instagram as well. I was trying to go to it to see exactly the name of it. But shout out to Crystal Johnston for inviting me to her podcast.
Definitely.
You do? Yep, she invited me to her podcast. And I think that sums up everything.
Miss Shaw, Dyson, Dr. Vitale.
Yes. Yes, but we held it down.
We did.
Mike
ain't want to talk.
Make sure you guys come out to the Autism Walk on April 6th. That's from 12 to 3. That information can be found on Autism in the D page. And I think that's it. It's a wrap. Yeah, it's on the Spectrum Talk too. It's on my page as well, Mike page.
It's on all our pages.
Yep.
We all participate.
But thanks for tuning in. And we will see you guys next Sunday, maybe. I think. Yeah.
Next Sunday is the walk.
Yeah. But we might have something going on.
All right, y'all.
We're gonna see y'all later. Thank you.
Thank you.
So.
If you looking for some information on autism, you should call in. We got Dice Clark, puzzle pieces, all deaf to Hezekiah Kids. Now we bringing awareness to the community, hoping you benefit. Put in your earbuds, turn up the volume, y'all know what time it is. Let's go. Welcome to the Spectrum Talk. What? Welcome to the Spectrum Talk. Let's go. Welcome to the Spectrum Talk. Hey. Welcome to the Spectrum Talk. Welcome to the Spectrum Talk. Yeah. Welcome to the Spectrum Talk. Okay. This is the Spectrum Talk. This is the Spectrum Talk. What's up, y'all? It's your boy Kid J. I hope everybody's having a blessed day. And thank you for tuning into the Spectrum Talk podcast.